Was there a part of you that wanted to prove one of your parents wrong?
No. And I've thought about this because every podcast I hear, a lot of people say, oh, I wanted to prove that childhood friend wrong, that cousin wrong, that auntie, my mum wrong for saying this. And you know what? There wasn't, because my dad, you could say he's a bit of a, I don't want to say hippie, but he kind of is. He's just like, do what you want. You having fun? Okay, crack on, mate. As long as you're happy and you're doing your thing, cool. My mum's a bit stricter. She's a head teacher, so that kind of comes through. But they never sort of were like, you shouldn't do this or you can't do this. Or, they never said anything that to this day makes me say, look at me now, or look what I've done that you didn't think I could do. My mum was a bit more strict and a bit more like, okay, well, if you're going to do something, does it have an income? Does it have this? Does it have... And I'm like, yeah, of course. But I've never actually, and to be fair, I don't think I have anyone in life that I want to prove wrong or prove to, because, I don't know, I've never had someone kind of say something to me that was deep enough, that I cared enough about, like that person, that would make me want to prove them wrong. It's just, I think it works. That anger and that drive, I mean, look around us, it works. Like 90% of people have it, and there's so many successful business people and businesses, but there is something ego in that, and there is something shallow in that, and there is something that isn't going to last the test of time with that, I've got to prove you wrong. Like if we're in the gym and you're lifting more than me, I don't care because I'm not trying to get injured. But if I deep it for a second and say, I'm going to prove this guy wrong, I could lift more and great. And that helps me in that moment. But after that time, I'm done. I'm not trying to, every time I go, oh, he's lifting more than me. No. So I think acutely, I might use that, right? Mm-hmm. But no one ever tells me you can't do anything. I've just never had someone, even on Instagram, when you get these weirdos following you, you know what it's like. Yep. Even if they said... I put something up the other day saying, what was your first impression of me? And someone was quite funny.
I see your replies to one of them.
And there's more to come that are like still quite rude. Some of my friends were quite rude as well. I was like, all right, thanks. And like even that, it doesn't bother me. I don't know, maybe because I'm such a person we can get into that people just don't say that to me. No?
What was your relationship like with your parents?
I would say, I can't remember when I was a child, like sub 5. I can't really remember. I remember bits like, I don't know, going to school, nursery, whatever it was, but I don't really remember like things clearly. That could be things being repressed, or it could just be I was really young and I don't remember shit. I don't know. I'm sure I'll find out at some point.
I'm the same. I don't remember past a certain age, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Because I mean, what would I remember? Like eating baby food and shitting, and then, like it's a bit of a like carnal. When you're a child, you don't really do things with high cognition. Yeah. So I think the relationship after the divorce was kind of confusing because I was if they got divorced now, I'm an adult. Like I can process it, I understand it. There's discussions. But at that age, no matter what they say, you're always like, okay. Like, cool, what does that even mean? I don't know. And so that processing and that understanding probably led to a relationship with them which wasn't rude, it wasn't fractured, it was just not as close or as communicative or as parental from my sort of view as I maybe should have had or wanted to have. In the last 5-6 years, it's changed. It's a lot better. Like my dad's a photographer, videographer, so all this kind of setup he does for me. So that's kind of brought us closer. My mum, we love gardening, so we kind of share that in common. And I just think me maturing, to be honest, and maybe understanding myself better, allowed me to communicate better with them, which created a better relationship. But yeah, it was not where I'd want it to be when I was younger, but I only know that now.
And you touched on your school years. What was that like?
School, I was very angry. People don't believe me nowadays when I say like, I used to have anger problems, which I find it quite surprising they don't believe me, given my sort of, I don't know, my bluntness, should we say. So I'm quite surprised. You anger, I'm like, can't you see hints of it? I don't know, like, I don't know if they're just joking, but so I used to be quite angry, getting into fights, and I think that was maybe anger from the divorce coming out in some like way. That's all I can think of, because I didn't really have any other reason to be angry. Like parents were not well off, but not well off. It was sort of middle class, it was fine. I didn't ask for much. If I needed something, it was there. If I didn't, it was fine. And so it was quite an angry, getting told off a lot, not having a lot of friends until probably sixth form. I don't know how old you are then, but that was when I actually had friends. We would have a laugh, play Call of Duty, go skateboarding, go shop, whatever you do when you're kind of young. So yeah, it was difficult for my parents to deal with. He's in trouble again. He's in trouble again. He's in detention. He's in detention.
Did you struggle to trust?
I don't even think I got to the point where I could even think about trust. Like, I think I was so cutting things off before they even got to that point that, like, I never thought, do I trust this guy? It was more like, we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
So now I struggle to trust, but I don't know if that's because of builders and solicitors and then project stuff. Like, I don't know if that's innate in me or if it's protective because of these idiots that I've had to deal with.
And again, you touched on the therapy. Is that helps?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, as much as I think a lot of things can be therapy, like this could be this could be therapeutic for both of us.
I've said so many times, this is the therapy. This is my therapy.
Of course, yeah. Like, the gym is my therapy. You know,
Yeah.
playing Call of Duty is my therapy. Like, people watching this might take that from it, but like actually having therapy with a qualified like psychologist, qualified, you know, whatever they are, I think it helps because they're a third person. It's not like me talking to my wife or my mum. They're like, they know me. This is a third person who is kind of blank almost and saying,
judgment.
well, why did you do that? Or what made you do that? And then I think the silence where they just sort of wait for you to answer is important. And that space that's created and them asking the right questions, like in the podcast interview, right? You ask the right questions, you elicit certain answers and certain pathways. And they do that with your own like psyche and your own personality. And a lot of us, you know, there's a quote from a Stoic philosopher, I think, and I put on my Instagram, I think it says, you know, would you rule an empire, rule over yourself, right? Because the biggest empire and the biggest challenge and the thing that we can control the most is up here, is our mind. But we all want the fastest car, this, that, biggest business, this turnover. We don't actually understand ourselves. So I think therapy should be like, and I think it's becoming like that because of, you know, compared to 10 years ago, I can't talk about therapy. Are you broken? You just stick up, you know, man up and all that kind of stuff. I think it's something that we should do just like we, you know, may have a personal trainer or I eat 5 fruit and veg a day. Well, why am I not, like I floss my teeth. Why am I not flossing my mind? Why am I lifting weights but not challenging what's up here? So I think that has to change and it is changing. But it helps massively. I recommend if anyone, even if you're like, I'm happy, everything's good, it's still good to explore yourself and just do a couple sessions. You don't like it, stop.
And I think what you just touched on there is so important for everyone to recognise that you may be okay one day but not the next. And it's the tools that you can implement over time. Mm-hmm. What were some of the tools that you took away from therapy? So
I think one of the biggest tools, and this, you know, I mean, this has been talked about from the days of like, I don't know, BC, from philosophers, from religions, from Buddhism, from everything, is like putting a gap between the stimuli and the response. So if you say something that's going to inflame me or could inflame me, in this Instagram generation, the instant generation we're in, my instant thing is, what are you saying? What are you talking to? When if I just go, so what do you mean by that? That is a totally different dynamic and leads to a totally different outcome. Now, I've done the first person multiple times. I still do. Yeah, because like I'm human, I still do. But putting that gap, whether it's a second, whether it's a breath, something, just gives both people time to reflect. Because you might think, in that silence, you might think, oh, did I say that wrongly? And I'm also thinking, how do I respond to this? Just that gap, which is so hard nowadays, especially on WhatsApp, where you can see people typing, you can see it's red. Like, all of this stuff is designed to fuck us up, basically, right? And to get the dopamine and serotonin flowing in the wrong way. Like, trees and fucking rabbits should give us dopamine, not like this social media. And so one of the biggest things was having that gap, because I would too quickly respond, too quickly want to just logical brain solve the issue. Oh, that's your emotion. How do we solve it? How do we solve it? Not, what does he mean by that? What's he feeling by that? And I think another one which is similar to that is breathing, like putting that breath in between there, but also just focusing on the breath. If I'm in a situation where I'm getting irate, I'm getting angry, or I think I'm about to go into a situation with someone I don't like, or a behavior or something I don't like, let me bring it back to my breath and focus on that and ignore the outside. And even just one deep breath I just took there sort of realigns you a bit. So the power of breath and the power of a gap, which, stem back thousands of years.